All right, I'm making a part two of this video. That first pitch went really well. This video is going to be longer, but I'm going to go into a lot of details here because I want to talk about how we can have a dynamic. Like, I want to prove that I'm like the William Shockley in this, but you could be the two engineers who make it work, who make this whole vision work, help me come up with the plan. It's very complicated. It's more complicated than just inventing the transistor in some ways. Now you have to be more astute with the chemistry and some really complex parts of science there. There's some really complex parts of the computer science aspects of this. A lot of them have to do with psychology and society and organizational elements of how you make it all secure and so many things. And so we can lead this conversation. It's about having a government of the people that has the right amount of transparency that can follow along with this. This is going to solve so many problems. This overall architecture, everything that I've been going for, it's going to open up so much access to opportunity. This is foundationally about, like even me, I didn't have a way to shadow different people until I found those career opportunities. Everybody would have the chance to shadow deeply in the industry. All college students would, in every industry, be thinking about industry challenges in those industries more thoroughly if we can connect the learning content through a diverse overall AI learning engine. Now that's going to be about data tables with transcripts. If you have your classes and names and things, but we're also going to have some tags that we use to flag different types of data structures, and that's what you ultimately use to build these AI engines. And then when you collect those collections of concepts and those data tables all working in conjunction builds a really good flagging engine, because we're going to be creating a social media that's about this learning content and helping with YouTube content producers and positioning this entire education market so that it's easy to create these interactive quizzes, opening up company opportunities to companies like Mastery.com. Again, my vision goes back years. It's a very complex vision, and I've been trying to open up all this opportunity, all the other social medias. You launch with us, I think I can get the other social medias to help you with a lot of your budget, because we're only going to try to maybe control this for 5 years while we launch this new social media, and all the other social medias are going to be positioning to implement their own solutions. And if we let all of these different engineers from different teams come together to form this company, I guarantee you, as long as you're willing to give, you're in a position where you can give chunks of equity to that team that makes it possible. And I'll help set you up for this. I'll give you this plan. We'll argue about what I get later. I think that I'm only trying to go for like 1%. That's it. Just 1%. As long as I get 1% of this company and a job, that would be everything I could possibly want, because I'm pretty sure anybody who has 1% of this company, that's going to be $10 billion. Yes, I do think that this is going to be worth $1 trillion. Your social media, I think that we can get it to this with this product strategy. I really do. That might not happen in the first, it'll probably happen in the first 10 years. Might not happen in the first 5. But if we launch with this 5-year priority access to the market, we get to tell our origin story, and everybody in the market, we get our branding. We establish the branding in the market, and this will be a cool way for us to launch this company. And we'll talk about this more advanced way to approach the markets, all these problems our company is helping position all the world to solve in our team. And if you believe in me, I believe in you. You guys have exactly what I need to network with. You have a network. You have the ability to attract a team, and I believe in a lot of diverse things. And that's automatically, like, not to, I don't want it to seem like I'm pulling a race card, but I understand that because of the implications of racism and things, that it's less likely that I get a chance to partner with somebody from Yale, and that's from the African American community. And I had a great friend named Javon. I don't know where Javon is at these days, and I was making some decisions and getting in some trouble then. I'm trying to be an advocate for a lot of different people in what I'm trying to stand for, and also put together this really complicated plan and stand up for the fact that there are so many people. We should definitely make different choices with our marijuana policy. Making any choices different with other drugs, I think that we could consider that, and I want to be an advocate for that, but I want to talk about how carefully I've positioned that strategy so that I'm conducive to families who are worried about different things and things they struggle with, and all of these different elements. And I think you'll really like what I'm trying to stand for, and we could have a great team. I'm hoping that. I'd love to know your origin story and how you got into Yale. I would love to get into Yale. Can you help me get into Yale? I think that I need Yale to help me create a different program, is one of the things that's what I've wrestled with. That's why I've been pulling clarity to my plan and wrestling with the fact that I can't find exactly the program that I want at a university on campus, learning about the kind of 3D game engine types of stuff I want to in my first semester, and then relate that to my other math classes. And it would make it more fun for me to learn about physics and all kinds of things. If I could, especially physics, but if I could learn about that and then create my own models and stuff like that, I would play around with that. That sounds fun to me. Okay, that sounds extremely fun to me. Um, and so I tried to figure out how to do that myself. Anyway, and that's one of the key parts of the technology, how AI interacts with that. I want that blended AI program. I might have put that in that last video. I can't remember if that was a discussion with myself. Anyway, let's go into some super deep strategy on why I have this more advanced approach to decentralization and encryption overall, and that powers all these protocol systems. And I have this overall strategy for society, and your social media would be key in that. And I hope you let me get to the point where we can call it our social media. That would be sweet. Just to prove like I'm somebody who appreciates the diversity in the world and everything. This is one of the people I would love for us to include now. Yousheng's more in mechanical engineering, and I learned about Yousheng because he was the student instructor with a very basic freshman level. You're playing around with Lego Mindstorms, but you have these little robotics competitions, and I won this little robotics competition, and I got to bond with Yousheng a little bit, and he was working on this Robot Husky League project, Robot Husky Dog project, and he taught me a lot of things. I couldn't contribute anything meaningful to that, but he taught me a lot of things. He taught me about the concept of product integral derivative feedback loops and some different concepts like that, and the Fibonacci sequence and how that's relevant in a lot of architectural design. And so he got me thinking about some problems in some cool ways, and he was really brilliant, and I knew that he was a hard worker, and I was one of these. I appreciate that you're out networking on campus. I was one of these people as well. Yousheng would attest to that. I didn't really find a great place for myself back then because I wasn't super interested in building robots necessarily back then. I had an interest in what we could do with technology, but I wasn't interested in weapons. And yeah, the Robot Husky Dog had potential applications in other fields, but I was more interested in business and kind of process improvement, and so that's why I came full circle on what I have. And if we're going to open up the market actually to opportunity to people like Yousheng for a company like Tesla, I have a key strategy for this. Like your social media could be so huge in this if you help partner with this origin story, and it's all about networking to help get better ideas in place. There's a very sales oriented piece about Zig Ziglar where I came up with some of these strategies for this protocol, and then I tried to come up with ways of monetizing it. And I wanted to simultaneously try to network and protect my idea, which is why I came up with this blended engineering log and pitch tool type of product set. And that's what I'm really trying to pitch for the world. I think it's the most American and important architecture we can, especially if it's led the right way, where you really integrate it with a president partnering with a chief visionary officer. Now you're really talking about actuating, chasing after different goals, especially with the full economic model that I've really incorporated in strategy, with thinking about how people at different positions in the design process like me might want to go network with a university. And I've thought about universities designing a department, a media and arts related department, to help support some of this new content creation so that they stay at the cutting edge with quizzes, and they'd be making these interactive quizzes for different professors in universities, and they'll develop processes for this where they draft these, and then teams come up with some visuals from student names from the department, and then they're always trying to make relevant things from their department that they relate to current events. And now our government, and knowledge dissection engine is really positioned to help us be a government of the people way better. And anyway, this can lead to world peace if it's artfully managed. I know Malaysia is very near Vietnam, and I don't know how many different, if there's more overlap, and about some of the things that different groups have believed and why these wars were fought so powerfully. But this could be a really interesting social media, I think, if it's built the right way. But we've got to have people who are out there trying to make sure they're standing up for both sides and trying to bring people together, not attack the other side. That's the reason why it'd be valuable, is if we really lead it like that, so that we can get over the fact that there was this confusion and that mistakes were made, and we can try to honor that all sides fought for things that made sense. It is true. Not all sides have, it's not always easy for the other side to see that about the other side, one side to see that about the other side. But it is true if you really look at it and you really try to understand all of the evolution of the 1900s and how we got here. So I would love to work with your team. I think you guys Obviously, you have great networking skills. You remind me of somebody who was hungry and trying to network on a university. You're proactive students. I think that I automatically believe in DEI. Not that that should be like a really huge deal deciding factor, but you have these other, you're proving that you can raise funding. I I would love to partner with you no matter what, just because I can see that. And if you believe in what I believe in, that's all I'm looking for. Now, I've wrestled with some weird things. Okay, I made that first intro video more concise. And this is part of the reason why I came up with so many of the different technologies and product strategies, because I was always trying to solve these problems. That's one of the reasons why I was mind uh, effing myself so deeply about how to create solutions in the world, because you have to dig really deeply into security and protocols, and I was thinking about all of it at the same time. And the reason why I was so close to the finish line when I was working at a hotel was because of how much I had been thinking about all of this. And that's why I had this whole set of revelations in late 2018, early 2019. And so I drafted these plans in 2019, had a very clear draft, and proves what I was thinking about in 2020. And ultimately, my data structure or my data approach, granted, I can't quite build these encryption algorithms. I'm to the point, but I had such a big plan where I couldn't pick just any one of the pieces yet. I needed to explain the overall economic strategy and opening up opportunity and what this was going to do for equality and all of these different things that it truly meant to me right from the beginning. And I was wrestling with all of this. And then I got to a point where I started to suspect that there was this simulation because there were these patterns. And I don't know if that's true. And it doesn't matter if that's true, because we're all supposed to be this interconnected thing together either way. And this should teach people about things that are maybe confusing. Anyway, we need to be bold and cross the finish line, if that's what's going on. Otherwise, it's a great simulation that God created, and I can attest that there are things that there's no way that technology could possibly control that are a part of this. And anyway, it's very weird to be in the middle of all of this, but that's my origin story, and maybe that's because I need to be this messy prophet. Now, if we have these really advanced data structures and we can build my overall more advanced social media and this better networking strategy at universities, and we have this really cool product strategy so that busy people can click in and they can see who's following along, they can see independent research that's being done to a large degree, because if you're doing independent research and you can breeze through quizzes that are summaries of things you understand anyway, you'll be able to easily pick different learning content and just pay whatever fee, and you'll be able to credential yourself that way. And I know that it might cost somewhere in the order of maybe like $100 to prove you have niche experience, if you want to prove a lot of niche experience in a lot of different emerging things. Maybe it would be that expensive on the really expensive side. But otherwise, it should not be like thousands of dollars for somebody to prove like they have all of the background theory. Now, in my case, I'm trying to approach some unique different markets. So I might try to spend more and bring more things together and argue in my context that I'm bringing some complex different pieces together. I might try to do that. I might be willing to spend more. But it's still not as much like a college credit is, thousands of dollars, but you're building this economies of scale approach for YouTubers where they can create these interactive quizzes, and also professors want to create these interactive quizzes. Universities can market these more digestible chunks in different ways. It's a diversified business model for the free market of education. That's the whole principle that's going to lead us to a more advanced concept of decentralization, not only for my encryption model, but how we manage a lot of these decentralized technologies and protect the free market and create the product opportunity, because there's all this complexity to all these ideas now. Like ultimately, I have something that powers a more advanced government that powers, and with this social media, that would be a key piece of that, and that powers a more advanced thing that we can interact with as a government of the people. And I drafted this really complex document and was chasing after this grand overarching vision for the company. And I'm not asking to be CEO. I don't even actually think that's useful right now. I don't think that I deserve that. If you're somebody who genuinely has more charisma, people will argue, and they have more trust for you because you haven't made certain mistakes that I've made, that's fine. That doesn't offend me. I totally trust that. Let's go for that, and let's make this all happen. And like this, I really want to make other people successful. I would love to be in a position where I can argue for other friends. I'm partly trying to talk about my vulnerabilities so people give other people more chances. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. It's the whole reason why I only am so assuming that I think that I'm this messy prophet. It's because of that thing and the fact that this thing really appeared to me, and it makes sense to me that the way that it appeared to me and the things that that implies and everything, God wants everybody to know, and nobody should feel like a prisoner in their own skin, for sure. Like, that's all paramount in my lessons, and I've ranted. I've got some weird rantings about all of this, because again, I suspected that there was a confused group targeting me, and that they were kind of lazy in all reality is what I was really wrestling with. And then how do you deal with an organization that might be so lazy that they're justifying attacking people in the kind of ways that I perceived I was being attacked? And that's profoundly, like, then it made sense that this thing was appearing to me because I'm actually fighting to give them a chance, like, in some ways. And it got very complicated and messy, and maybe we needed that. I don't know. Anyway, I have this killer product strategy. I have, I can talk about, I added this note, which I've talked about in other places, and it's in my rantings on my old file drives and stuff like that. I have some audio files before I started making videos. And anyway, this is my engineering log, and I want a digital version of this. I was trying to create the overall business strategy to build this really complex product where you could pull together these different sources and create a digital warehouse for this. And I complex market things and all these different product strategies all converging and complex. I wanted the most sophisticated algorithm source for making this more secure for all the validation and transactions, because people's dreams and lives and potentially people wrestling with suicide and all of these things, because they care so much, and all the things that they've wrestled with, it can mean things that have held them back really from being able to succeed in so many other personal realms, because they've been wrestling with all of this, and it's made relationships hard, which is something that I know veterans have wrestled with. So again, and I can talk about, I'm not trying to say that I can completely relate to that, but I have some unique things that you can probably relate to in ways, but you can't fully relate to it. And I want you to realize that we both have these limitations, and like, let's as veterans bond, as families of veterans bond, and try to lead the world to understand how important psychology is and these things that we've been fighting over. Let's do that. Let's really try to honor all artists and honor that there are some potheads like Brandon and who've made some choices with other drugs that maybe will try to fight for the military, like in a lot of ways, as much so as you can. And if it came down to me having to be in a uniform and making the sacrifice, I would be willing to do that. I just want to exhaust all these other pieces and be able to, to speak my opinion and things like that. And I hope that the military has a chain of command where they can manage this well. Granted, you have to keep things concise, and I'm trying to build this engine which helps everybody. If you have this complex interconnected strategy to save lives, again, this might help you with this. Like this engine, once you understand what it can be, because it's more involved than just having a presentation, because there are tools that you can have people try to learn about things. Like, depending on where they're at, you might not know what's hanging them up is a huge thing that's in the background of that conversation. Depending on where they're at, you might know what's hanging them up. So for selling your pitch, it's useful to understand where the audience is at. If you guys can both say, we're trying to have this conversation, all right, let me look here and let's see, let's see which pieces you don't think are valuable and which pieces, where does the product strategy. Almost 19 minutes into this, I don't want to end up with a dynamic where I'm like William Shockley and you guys do the most of the work and I try to take the credit. Like, I'm not going to end up, but I should be seen as equal. We're going to be very much equals. Like, the team that makes this work, we're going to be very much pretty close to equals. I would love to learn more about the technology that, like, I've been looking for that. I've been thinking about building this myself. It's so many things at the same time, though, in order to get it all in place, really. Like I said, the best evidence of this is how my BitBond strategy is ultimately, sales strategy is ultimately the best way to transition our economy to crypto. It really is. And I'm helping to get like the most of the audience, a huge percentage of the American public, to really want to follow along with this. This is largely a movement in the background right now. We could make this spread so quickly. I should be the best strategic acquisition or partnership for a cryptocurrency company right now. I can open that up for your social media, for the team that wants to do this. Now, I want to start digging deep into the reality. I also think that God wanted me to point out, like, I'm trying to talk about things that my family has wrestled with, but trying to do this and also say that I know that God wants me to talk about that this family, that that my family also has really positive things to add to the world. Now, there are complex things that, and these were exacerbated by a shooting, and it's not like my grandpa or my stepdad didn't handle the pressures of war or things like that when they got home well. That's not what I'm trying to say. This is really complicated. You have to understand how I was mind fucked at age 14 really, really deeply, and that configured my psychology because I was hit very deeply emotionally, and it was drawn out over a month, and it takes like a month to configure a habit, and there's powerful feelings with holding a brand new baby sister that really drove that. Like, that's a super huge factor. Like, people don't realize how these subtle, huge factors in psychology are just so huge. Like, I know I said that twice, but anyway, I mean, there are so many niche complexities to this. Keys are actually running through. I have this physical encryption that's been in my videos for going back so long, and in my presentations and notes going back so long, but there are keys that are permuted and then you have a switch that doesn't permute it, and so you can, when you're accessing this architecture, it gets saved in this permuted way, but in the background it's always re-permuting it, and it has the ability to re-unpermute it. And so, like, you can, well, I don't know if you can replicate that directionally to like with the architecture, that's an algorithm piece. You have to algorithmically detect that change and that permutation, overall set of permutations, and even that's kind of complex. That wouldn't necessarily be direct. There's no way to, that's the point of this architecture. So that's something that's in the background and part of the validation process, really. And when I sit here and I remind myself, oh, that's how that protocol works, yeah. But I don't have always, this is so many things that I didn't draft each one of these pieces individually super well. This is one of the pieces that I want in this social media, is access to documents and drafting tools that help you draft out your idea, and then the interactive video tools so that you can make presentations and maybe some visuals built into PowerPoint so you can make interactive quizzes like, do you understand this? Okay, so I'm presenting this point, do you understand this? And if somebody can work through it like that, now you can prove who's following along in an AI engine with a QA structure that you can build questions and QA quiz components, and you're basically digitizing these interactive quizzes by the design of how you're building the video and how the technology works and the companies work together. And this is a macro scale solution. Now, I'm not asking to make all the money. I think that me getting 1% of a company that launches and we get to tell our origin story and we become a $1 trillion company, and the team that makes that all possible is among all the other companies that we make successful. And I've built this economy, this capitalism that works for this. I've really invented, like, haven't completely invented a model so much as I've drafted what exists and unified it all. It's like Einstein's theory of everything in a way. It's kind of what I argue. Like, Elon Musk is the Einstein of our day. Is he really? Because here's my Einstein's theory of everything, Elon, and I think in order to have your everything app ecosystem, I think you're so close. I think that we could make this team come together. Like, but we shouldn't try to, I don't think that, I think we need a more diverse team just because me and you seem too similar. And it's weird to me. And so we need a more diverse team. This is part of the thing that's mind-effed me. And we need a more diverse team. And so this is, and I'm trying to, and part of me feels awkward just because I seem like Elon Musk, but I aspire to you so much. I genuinely do. You're one of my biggest idols. But I wrestle with all of these factors, and it's so awkward and silly for me because of how I feel like I'm in this simulation, and then depending on some of the things that I've said at different points processing this, if you've heard me at that point, like, just let's have these conversations. If everybody watches this full, I'm going to try to keep this only a half-an-hour video, but anyway, you get this algorithm. It controls a lot of the data flows for my telemetry system, for the protocols and validation for the telemetry system, for AI, for safety on the roadway. It's a key part of that technology. For if you get to the point of having you need this Space Force, I argue, largely for that AI telemetry technology. You need my addendum structure for making it clear for the business world to follow along with. In my world, now you have this business's Bill of Rights for most of understanding how our modern world and economy comes together. You study that, and you get it in an instant. There isn't something like that really right now. And so this whole unification, it is kind of like a theory of everything and what we fought over, and that's why my book is so appropriate. And it's really complicated how technology is coming together, and you can have this weird niche approach to technology. And I'm like the Shockley, and then we still have the other two scientists that helped develop the transistor, and I'm looking for those other key scientists. But like at Bell Labs, they should have positioned these guys to foundationally launch their own company, and then we'll have equity in a company that you've really helped to make successful, but then we're getting our profits back from you that way. And we'll debate what the right percentages are, but maybe you have that's a way cooler foundational contract to attract high performers at any design firm. Okay? If you offer something like that, automatically you have a way to attract better talent. Because people, if they're really a top performer and they really want to work that hard and they know they get that, they're incentivized to do so more. You're going to promote that more in society. So, I mean, for so many reasons, you want to actuate the kind of strategies that I'm talking about. Because all the social medias could help us launch this, and all the social medias benefit because of the way we're pursuing this more advanced market. It's a better way to pursue a lot of elements of capitalism. Communism, yeah, you want to try and talk about this. Any analogies to communism? The only methodology that's is that I'm trying to be careful with how AI is implemented. Anybody who thinks I'm trying to control the private sector doesn't understand that and the whole justification for communism, we have to find an answer for that. If you don't understand that a huge percentage of my model is to enable, I knew this algorithm needed to operate in the background, and I came up with a major market vertical operational strategy because we need to be working. You don't want to completely monopolize a pitch alert system or something like the education network or medical records. We can't. We lock up the most important parts of solving some of the key parts of product strategy there. We can't do that. So we need this more advanced operational dynamic and capability set. I think this is the theory of everything. I think that, and it's religious in nature. And maybe God is proving there are some things that you will never figure out here, except for unless you understand this. Maybe that's what it is. I know that seems crazy. Maybe. But this might be proving that to some degree. I'm not saying that scientists should give up. I'm just saying that there might be science that people say is meta-science, but it's actually, or pseudoscience, but it's actually real science, like the things with quantum non-locality and like the nature of causality and propagation of signals through space, but yet we have entanglement. And entanglement basically could describe, I wrote a research paper on this in college. It's so crazy that I'm in this position. It's like my life built me for this. And it's crazy that this research paper foundationally could be arguing, or I mean it was arguing, that you could develop this connection in your brain through meditation and some of the different things that religion are, but we've also fought about religion. But I mean, and then to be here today with this plan where the theory of everything, when I loved Albert, like studying these physicists and how we figured out science and some of that's why I understand about the origin of the transistor, and I don't want to be like William Shockley, like I want to be the theorist about the market strategy and this opportunity and how this solves product problems. And that's where I'm at right now. And that's a very complex equation in ways that's psychologically and geopolitically as complex as the chemistry was to invent the transistor. Because it relates to world peace and all these dynamics for how you succeed at security and enabling a cyber force and protecting the military and running products up a chain of command that can lead to world peace and anti-terrorism software and overall a safer world, and so many things, so many product opportunities in the pitch system so that people can follow along with the right amount of transparency, and mobilizing the education network so we can make these complex decisions as a government of the people and bonding with the world over that, not trying to control this for the world, but bonding with the world over that and saying mutually assured success around our PD strategy and our structuring of how we come together to create market opportunity, bring clarity to what we fought over, and hopefully not have these wars anymore because we have cared about each other. There's the proof of that in all of the stories, and we should be looking at that. We've all of our cultures have dreamed about this. We have an interconnected human story. Maybe America got the chance to be this melting pot for what it stood for. And then now we're getting the chance to be this final piece of the puzzle or whatever it is. And hopefully we are really, but it seems like we're really close to the finish line now, because we can get to the point where you have, I know that we have to worry about AI, but I've designed these algorithms. Inherently in the background of this algorithm, you have disconnection points and chain of command and ways to deactivate the algorithm overall and disconnect the communication. And people are watching different parts of different systems, and you have a very compartmentalized model of shutting it all down. And you could build further complexity into that. And I've talked about this in another presentation. I wanted to keep this one just to 30 minutes and put these two together. But I have great product strategy for your team. I'm going to try so hard to network with you guys. You know, you could talk to Yosheng, you could talk to Javon, you could talk to Juan and Jose. I've had very diverse friends. I'm trying to be an advocate for so many things, for so many people, from the experiences that I have. And I'm trying to fight for so many people. I've made mistakes. I haven't always seen all things clearly, and I will own that, and I will try to do my best to fight for everybody and build the most diverse team I can, because that's really what we need to lead here in America anyway. And that's one of the reasons why I would love the partnership opportunity that I would. And I'm trying to figure out how to work together with Dr. Han, and there's a crypto strategist, crypto company. What's the name of the crypto company I was gonna put in here really quick? Oh shoot, Matt Huang. Paradigm. I think we could all work out something really cool, because you think that it looks like there's an article that says you understand people that are wrestling with this chaos and trying to do the kinds of things I'm trying to do for this team. And so I'm wondering if you can help me get them more funding, really. That's what I would like to really see in the background. Matt Huang get funding to Ceres at Yale, the Ceres team at Yale, with Mr. Nathaniel Johnson and Sean Hargrove. That's what I would like, and for them to give me my performance-dependent option to win. And so that shouldn't affect your valuation at this stage, because it's performance-dependent. And so we'll have this performance-dependent. If my overall plan works, largely, I think that I get 1%, and I can get you more funding from this crypto firm, because I've got this strategy that this economist will validate, will help us sell more savings bonds, and this will help us make the transition to crypto and pay off the national debt, and we can drive this overall strategic crypto reserve strategy while we drive this overall launch. And this is probably the best partnership for how to structure the launch of Strategic Pivot. Very complicated, long-term evolution to get to this plan. And this is one of the reasons why we need a first-to-file product system that protects all these people trying to reach out like this. Maybe you can't quite put together as much as I was able to, but if you're able to put together a lot of things and some significant product features, you for sure deserve a job. You for sure deserve to be able to have options to win equity. And I'm only asking for a small percentage of this, because I'm more interested in just being credited as being part of that team, like the theorist, like the William Shockley, who made the other two engineers successful in there, Burnett, I think, and I forget both of the engineers' names, but profound team, and they're all equally important. And you know, like, yes, the only reason why I remember Shockley is because I'm like, it's not cool how he took credit for the team. Like, I'm not trying to take credit for the team, you know. But I do have this great theory, and I put a lot of work into this. I had to start taking more sleeping pills because I have so many things to pull together, and it's a unique thing. And I really think this adds a lot of value to strategy overall in the marketplace. But I'm trying to keep this under 5 minutes. Talk about how I'm really trying to pull this team together, create opportunities for other people, and that's what this is about.